And we are live for Freestyle Friday. Woo! We made it to another Friday. I am so pumped and so excited today. One, because I overcame a fear for myself this morning. As you can see, I got a hoodie on, right? And my fear or my disinterest or whatever you want to name it has been me going out and exercising in the cold. So I actually overcame it today. So excuse my attire with my sweatshirt on. I went out there and I put in, it wasn't a grand scheme of physical activity, but at least I overcame it. At least I went outside in the cold air and attempted to do some exercising. And I did it. The question is, well, how did you overcome that, Dr. Ingrid? How did you do that? So guess what? Today is the day we talk about how we overcome our fears. I am Dr. Ingrid, a board-certified psychiatrist, here licensed in New York, New Jersey, and California. Here each Friday just saying we're going to celebrate and we're going to freestyle it however we do it, by way of music, by way of chatting, whatever it may be, because we have made it to another Friday. Our affirmation for the week was, I am courageous. I hope that you've tapped into your courage this week. I hope that you continue to tap into your courageousness throughout the next week, because we're going to talk about how to overcome fears. How do we do it? How do we do it? What did I do this morning? Because I've been afraid to go out and exercise in the cold. Sometimes I'm driving. I'm here in New York and I may see people like with their exercise gear on and they're just going. They're at it. And I'm like, oh my God, how do they do that in the cold? And I like to exercise. And a lot of times during the wintertime, that's when I can tell you my activity level kind of drops, because I don't go out to exercise, and most of it is indoors, but I like to be outside in the air, getting the fresh air to exercise. So what did I do this morning to overcome this fear of going outside and exercising? Well, let me just tell you what you could do. First, I would like to hear from anyone that has joined us, because we are talking about overcoming fears. If you have any fears, you're on this live with me, you want to send a chat, I'll be more than happy to answer back as to what the things that we could do together here on the live. Other than that, you can reach me, if you see the ticker across the screen, at info@montgomerypsych.org. Send me an email. You can ask me questions. I'm available. I want us to all overcome our fears. There's so many things that we can be afraid of. So many things over the last year, and even the beginning of this year, that has us really rattled. Have people having real fears and also irrational fears, just because of the tempo of the environment, let alone our own locus of control being altered due to the things that's beyond our control. So info@montgomerypsych.org is where you can reach me by email. I would love for some people to email me questions that you may have for the previous week that we can maybe discuss. Again, we're talking about overcoming fears today. Based on our affirmation for the week is, I am courageous. So very excited, because I was courageous this morning and I went out running. I'm so happy. We freestyling today. I'm Dr. Ingrid, board certified psychiatrist, just feeling good, feeling great, wanting you to feel my energy, me grabbing your energy, and let's just be courageous. Just be fearless. Let's just do it. But how do we do it? Let's get into it, all right? So first of all, the first thing you need to consider when you're trying to overcome your fears, to sit and understand the fear that you have. Is it a real fear, or is this an irrational fear? A lot of times when we have anxiety, we may have something mood-oriented or stress. Some of our fears may be rooted in not being rational or real. So let's discover and think about, what is this fear? Is it a real fear? Is it an irrational fear? And once we decide that and really do a reality check, that's what we're talking about, doing a reality check. Someone sent me an emoji. I know what that means. A reality check to see if this is a real fear. And if this is a real fear, what are the consequences? Should you be afraid? And sometimes our fears are really real fears where we should take precaution, and maybe we should be very slow to react or slow to act upon those things that are fearful. Well, let's take the conversation in another direction, because we're not talking about today things you should be fearful of. If there's any type of violence or abuse associated with it, or harm to other people or yourself, and that element of fear is there, then that is another conversation that needs to happen in a private setting with loved ones, with people that you trust, a counselor, anyone. But this platform we're talking about today is not medical advice. We're just speaking about topics that everyone can use very broadly in your life. So looking at overcoming fear. So let's say that the fear you have is an irrational fear. Take me, for example. I'm afraid I'm going to go out, get frostbite, or I'm going to be overly cold, or I'm not going to enjoy myself going out to exercise. So I fear doing it. I just did not want to do it. So I said, well, what is the worst thing that could happen? Well, the worst thing that could happen is I could get cold, because I went out in the cold air and tried to exercise this morning. Okay, so if I go out in the air and it is really, really cold, first of all, I'm going to layer up. I'm going to put the appropriate clothing on. So what I am saying is understanding what the fear is due to. The fear could be due to you don't want to get cold. The fear could be due to you don't want to be embarrassed. The fear could be due to maybe I should not spend this money because I may not have the money for next month. You have to determine where the fear is rooted from. Or the fear may be something that, great example, sometimes generational fears, things that have been taught to us as children, although we have not tested the waters for ourselves, or maybe just by things that other individuals have taught us to be afraid of, we live out their fears vicariously, right? And so we have to check that and understand, where is all of this coming from? Is this real or is this irrational? What is the thing that is feared? What is the situation at hand? What am I really afraid of? Am I really afraid of the cold weather, going outside to exercise? Am I afraid that I may get hypothermic, meaning that I will fall down because I'm too cold? Is it just a fear that I may not be successful? I may not do the entire exercise routine that I want to do? What is the situation where people look at me and laugh because I'm not running as fast as I normally would run in the warmer weather? What are these fears? So I had to come to grips to basically do a reality check and check myself and say, Ingrid, your fear is irrational. Get up, go outside, exercise. It's cold, but layer up and do the best that you can. I have a dear friend of mine. He always says, no action beats, what does he say? Yeah, some action beats inaction all the time. Doing something is better than nothing. So doing some type of action will always supersede no action at all. So we have to understand that it's not about perfection, but it's about progression and trying to move ahead, to do things outside of our comfort zone to make us grow. So now that I've gone outside and I have tested the waters of exercising in the cold, I can acclimate myself better. And now my routine of physical activity may not be where it is in the spring and the summer, but I surely can mix things up a little bit better and get out there and do it, because I was able to do it this morning. So again, you got to excuse my hoodie, but maybe not excuse my hoodie. It's cute anyway. So I'm going to wear it and rock on with it, because we're freestyling anyway. But we're talking about fears today, overcoming fears. And I am Dr. Ingrid. I'm the RealTalkMD, and we are talking about overcoming fears today. If you have any further comments or questions outside of this live, or you want to submit any questions for next week, you see that you can connect with me, info@montgomerysite.org. I also am on Instagram at therealtalkmd. I'm on Facebook here, which is live. Thank you for joining me. If you're joining me at therealtalkmd, also, we have a YouTube channel. We're live and stream from YouTube, so you can always find these lives that we're doing here on YouTube, along with other things, juicy wellness, informational things. Again, no medical advice given at the Real Talk MD. I am on Clubhouse, the Real Talk MD, and I'm really enjoying myself there, where I'm able to talk about evidence-based understanding of ourselves and these things such as fear. Is it real? Is it irrational? And how do we move forward individually, as a partnership, as a family, as a community, as a nation, as a world? Because we have so many things to be afraid of, but we're going to keep it moving because we freestyling and we're going to get this thing done. So I overcame a fear. Let me tell you what I do each and every time I have a fear. See if it's real, if it's irrational. What is the fear due to? What is the thing or the situation that you are afraid of? Where is this coming from? What is it that I am really afraid of? Well, you take it, and what I want you to do is dissect it. I want you to slice it up bit by bit and tear that thing down in little pieces. Take it little bit, little bit, little bit. If it becomes overwhelming when you do these little micro cosmic analysis, is what I like to call them, you may need to pull someone else in, like a partner or a family member, or someone that you trust, or a therapist or a professional to help you so that you're not so overwhelmed by this. And this person can help you to look at things in a very stepwise fashion so that you can overcome it. Because a lot of times what we are afraid of, we're very overwhelmed with this thing because we can't see the very small steps that we need to do, that we have control over. We see the big picture, which allows us panic because we feel so overwhelmed by this big picture that we feel we have no control. So what we do is we stop, we regress, we don't move forward, and nothing gets done, and fear sets in. And that's what we're talking about today. We're going to overcome it. What is the worst thing that can happen? Once you dissect that thing, look at the consequences. What are the consequences behind this? The worst thing that can happen. If I go out to do anything or I do this, what is at stake? Am I harming myself? Am I harming others? If the answers to that are no, to either one, to both, or either one of them, then let's consider moving forward past our fears, because that means that our fears are not reality-based, but they may have some irrational tinge to it. But again, always having someone to kind of come in to help you to understand it step by step at this thing that you're afraid of. Communicate that you're afraid. Communicate. I'm afraid to go out in the cold and exercise because I don't want to be cold. That's real. You don't want to be cold. But the irrational part of it is, what is the worst thing that could happen? If you're cold, then you layer up. You can still exercise. I have this live at 1:00, so I have to stop what I'm doing to do this live because I enjoy it. So maybe I may come in with the hoodie on and as if I've been exercising, but I'm here and we're doing this. So I may be afraid, I don't want people to see me with the sweat on. What's the worst thing? You may not like the sweat. Okay, but I've been exercising. I overcame a fear, so I'm excited about that this morning. Looking at the benefits of it. What's on the other side of this thing that we are overcoming? If the benefits can outweigh the consequences of that fear, even if it's a long-term benefit, even if it's a benefit you may not be able to see immediately, let's take steps toward it to overcome this fear, because it only can make us better. And it gets you out of your comfort zone to grow. But in order to do these things, I don't want to skim over what is, to me, the bare necessities of wellness. Now, we all know the bare necessities of life, which is food, clothing, and shelter, right? We have the bare necessities of wellness, which is sleep. Being able to process what's happening in a very organized manner. You have to have quality sleep to rest your mind, to rest your body, to be rejuvenated so that you can move on and to be able to make sound decisions. Secondly, nutrition plays a big part on our brain development, on how our brain functions, and we don't realize how much the things we put into our bodies, it really affects our mental state. It really affects our hormone levels. That definitely can go into play as to when we make these decisions. Also, not only nutrition, but the other things that others may be doing, such as drinking alcohol or getting high or getting intoxicated. In those states, you cannot overcome fear because you're not basing your thought process on reality. It is in an intoxicated state, so you cannot really make those rational decisions to overcome fear. So it's very important to see and look at the things that are important. Are you sleeping enough? Are you getting enough rest? If you're not, if you're telling me, no, I am not, we really need to talk about this. You can info me, info@montgomerypsych.org. Email me. Let's talk about how we can move forward, how we can help you. You need to really be able to sleep. There may be something medically happening with you, something psychologically, but if you're not sleeping adequately, you're just running on fumes. So you're not going to be able to process and get past that fear. Again, I'm talking about your intake, your nutrition. What are you feeding yourself? Are you drinking excessive alcohol just to make yourself feel better, to avoid the fears of something? Are you using drugs to do that? That is not reality-based, so then we can't overcome our fears. Again, I'm reached at info@montgomerypsych.org, as you can see ticking across the screen, and we're talking about overcoming fear. So the bare necessities is what you're putting into your body as far as nourishing the mind and the body, allowing yourself to be rejuvenated by sleep. The third thing is understanding your capabilities and having some support system of people around you, whether that's by professional engagement of a therapist or a psychiatrist, psychologist, or a partner or a friend or someone that you can trust. These are the three things that are so vital, because isolation can definitely lead you to have more pronounced fears because you're alone and you may not have anyone in your life or anyone that's close to you due to the pandemic, because we all are sheltering in place in some part. So having a support system of some kind, looking at the things that you're putting in your body, your nutritional state, and being able to sleep. These are the core things that you need to be able to really think about what you're doing in a very logical way in order to overcome fear. So being able to take one step at a time, slowing it down, write things down, make it plain, make it simple. People, I know we have all our gadgets. I have about 4 phones. How many ever computers? We have cameras. We have all of these things. But sometimes getting back to the core of writing things down, go back and revisit that and look at how you're going to approach the thing that you fear the most. I don't want you to go and write out, oh, I fear, I'm afraid of spiders. I'm afraid of heights. I'm afraid, that's a little overwhelming. But think about the one thing that you fear the most, and by overcoming this fear will be the most beneficial in your life. So that's where I want you to start. What is the one thing that you fear the most? And by overcoming that fear will be the most beneficial thing in your life. I want you to have a better life. I want you to have the best life. I don't want fear to stop you from your goals in 2021. I don't want fear to stop you from the things that you desire. We have to overcome this. And believe me, you are not alone. Each day, everyone, we have a fear of something. But if it's something that you feel that you need to overcome that's going to better yourself, let's get started. Why wait? Get the journal out. Get a sheet of paper. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. It could be, I got these little, from my son, these little cheap composition things like 50 cents at the beginning of the school year. Grab one. The kids are doing online schooling anyway. They don't need the notebooks. So if you have extra ones around the house, grab one, pick it up, begin to write. Let that own it. Let that be your framework and your blueprint of how you and I are going to overcome the fears that we have in 2021. There's going to always be something happening in the world. There's always going to be something happening in our nation, in our very own towns, in our very own homes. But we have to stand very firm and continue to move at a pace that we can. We may have setbacks, we may have things to hinder us, but we have to understand when fear is hindering us from achieving something that can be beneficial in our lives. So we need to take action. And that action means writing things down, understanding if this is a real fear or irrational fear, dissecting it, calling in the troops, our support system, making sure we're sleeping, making sure that we're eating the best that we can for our bodies and our minds, just taking one step at a time, understanding that any action is better than no action any day. And it's not about perfection. So I want you at the end of overcoming your fears, at the end of it, I want you to reward yourself. Yeah. Reward yourself. For any step that you've taken, reward yourself. Reward yourself and say, I am proud. I did it. I put that post on IG. Okay, no one liked it, but I don't care if I got 1 or 2 likes. I did it at least. I'm proud of myself. I resisted from, you may say, from overeating today. Reward yourself by whatever that is that makes you happy. At least it's not causing harm to yourself. So if we have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them, or we're going to go into our freestyle. Do we have any questions, any comments? Anyone have anything to say?
We got a couple of highs.
Hi!
You got a few hearts.
Oh, hearts. I like hearts. So we overcoming fears, though. Do you have any questions about how you can overcome any fear that you have? I was just very transparent with you about me going out in the cold exercising, but I did it and I feel so good. So how will I reward myself? That's what I got to think about, because we always have to remember when we are triumphant about any little thing that causes us fear and we're able to make that phone call. Sometimes it's simply making a phone call. Some people are fearful to call in orders, to say that they want a certain dish or whatever. Sometimes when you do call these busy places, they want to rush you off the phone, and you have to say, wait a minute, and understand in your mind, this is your money that you're spending, and this is the time and the effort and the investment of you purchasing something for the betterment of your body. So overcoming that fear, saying, I'm going to be beneficial by ordering the things that I want and not allowing the person on the other end of the phone to discourage you, and just take your time in doing so. What is it that you're fearing? Or say that at the local market, the lady is nasty at the pharmacy when you call to see if your prescription is ready. You have to understand that there's a lot of processes that are happening with other people in situations, and we all are stressed in some capacity, but not allowing your fear of calling, not allowing your fear of making that first step to get the help that you need, allow you to destroy your life and not get the benefit and the help that you deserve to move forward. So again, if there's anything that I can do, reach me, info@montgomerysite.org. I am Dr. Ingrid. We are talking about overcoming our fears. So I hope that what I have shared with you today has helped you. And I'm just excited. And I just want to freestyle a little bit. Y'all know what we do. And I look forward to seeing you next week.
We do have a question.
We got a question. What's our question?
How do we overcome fear of talking to people or just going out now with this pandemic going on when you still feel really scared?
Okay. So now, that question, I'm going to reframe the question. And that's a great question, because that question is twofold. One is a real fear, which is going out in the pandemic and having the fear of contracting a virus that could be deadly. And the other one may be an irrational fear, I'm not quite sure, of talking to individuals. So the real fear is that you take precaution. If you feel that you don't need to go outside around other people during the pandemic, then don't go. But I will suggest that if you have the capacity to move your bodies and get outside to get some vitamin D, to get some fresh air just on the outside of your porch, if that's your fear, then that's something that you and I can definitely work on. But going around other people with a pandemic that is in full swing, that's a real fear. If you're afraid to just go and peep your head out of your door to get fresh air, then that may be more of an irrational fear there. So I would want to get more information about it. But I would say that you should definitely try to get some fresh air each day by going out on your porch, going out, opening your window a little bit, looking out of the window, understanding that life is still going on. But when it comes to you putting yourself in danger, because we're talking about looking at the consequences of these fears, then we have to renegotiate what that means in our lives. So putting yourself in danger of others and potentially getting COVID-19, I would say don't do that. That is a real fear. So we would want to go by the guidelines of the CDC of protecting ourselves. If we don't have to go out, then we don't go. That's it. So our second half of your question was, Alexa, it was if they have a fear of talking to people. Mm-hmm. Okay. Is it people in general? Could you reply in the chat if it's people in general, or is it a specific person that you are fearful of?
I think it's people in general. Just now with COVID, how do you feel comfortable talking to anyone?
Okay. So that's a really broad question, but I can tell you the more isolated that we all are, the more comfortable we feel not talking to anyone. And that can really lead you into a deep depression and have you more anxious and more fearful when the time comes when things are not so isolated. Then those social skills that we all need are going to be lacking, and you're not going to know how to react or to relate to other people. So again, I would want to know a little bit more about what that fear entails, because you're saying people in general, but I'm sure you have an ideal of a particular person or a situation. So if you want to email me at info@montgomerysite.org, then we can go over a little bit of more of the specifics. Again, this is by no way what I'm doing here, any medical advice given, but I can tell you that you need to check and see if that fear is a real fear. Is this person you're going to talk to or be around? Are they going to abuse you? Are they going to put you into harm's way? Is it that you are afraid of the reaction that you may get from others? Are you afraid that you may be humiliated? If so, these may be signs of social anxiety that we may need to look at a little closer. So it's very hard for me to say, but it could be definitely when people have social anxiety, there's an irrational thinking there that is not reality-based. So then we help and we reality check, and we'll work through a stepwise fashion to get you more comfortable in rediscovering your connection with people. I would say if it's something that you are afraid to verbalize, communication is not just about verbal, but you can do it in a nonverbal way. You can send an email, you can write a letter, you can, a lot of times you can work things out, writing things down, practicing it, role playing with yourself, how you would say it, write it out like a speech. And if it's something that you've been holding in, and say that it is something with the individual or just people in general because of COVID, then you do want to be very careful being around other people. If you're talking about people that's in your home, and a lot of people sadly are in homes and they are around people in their homes that are COVID positive, and they're trying to not get COVID, so they're not talking to them and they're wearing masks, that is a real fear. So by no means am I telling you to go forward and snatch your mask off and go in the bedroom and talk to someone that has COVID. I'm not saying that. You have to protect yourself. If you're talking to me and you're speaking about relating to individuals in the context of COVID-19 exposure, that's a real fear. So the communication aspect of that, it has a real tinge to it. So you just have to be very, very careful. Other than that, if you are just afraid to just talk to people in general because you're becoming very immune to being alone, you're becoming very immune to being isolated, then that's something that we need to really, really work on. And the communication more than likely needs to happen with you redefining how you see yourself in this pandemic and your relationship to other people. So again, you can email me at info@montgomerysite.org. I'll be more than happy to go over any other questions or any other things in detail. We have been on about 30 minutes, and I appreciate everyone stopping in, joining me for this freestyle. I'm going to freestyle just a little bit today because I really kind of want to go back outside. But we're here, we're freestyling. You know what we do. We do what we do. Do we have any other questions? Awesome. So thank you for joining me today. And looks like my keyboard just don't want to work right now. I don't know what's going on. So we're going to act like we're freestyling because my keyboard just is not doing what it's doing. So I don't know what to say, y'all. But we're going to freestyle. So we're going to freestyle. We're going to do it like back in the old days, just like my grandma. We're going to just stomp our feet and clap our hands and talk about the freestyle. I am not a rapper, so don't even try it. We're getting away from our fears all in this year 2021. We're going to win. Getting away from my fears all in this year 2021. We're gonna win. Yeah. Getting away from our fears all in this year 2021. We ain't gonna lose. Just play it cool. Do what you do and have faith. Yeah, we have faith. Yeah, we have no fears for this year 2021. We're gonna win. Y'all, thank you so much for freestyling with me. My keyboard just decided. Now it works. Do y'all see this? So next week, we will get back on the keyboard. I don't know what happened. Maybe it was me. I can tell you, I'm afraid of electronic stuff because my capacity with it is horrible. So I have no production people around me. I do have an assistant. We're trying to do the best that we can through this pandemic. So Friday is freestyle. And let's keep with our song. We'll have no fears for this year 2021. We gonna win. Hey, we have no fears for this year 2021. We're gonna win. So have no fear. Make sure you reward yourself when you overcome those fears, but write them down, dissect them. Say, is this real or is this not real? And then we're going to hit those irrational thoughts of fear because we're going to overcome it. We overcoming fears this year, 2021. We'll win. Have faith. Yeah. We ain't gonna fear. Y'all, thank you so much for joining me. I'm Dr. Ingrid, board certified psychiatrist here in Rockland, New York. I'm licensed in New York, New Jersey, and California. We're talking about overcoming fears. If you need to reach me, you can hit me at info@montgomerysite.org. And y'all have a great, great weekend. Our affirmation for next week. What is our affirmation for next week? I have peace. We're talking about peace. I have peace is our affirmation for next week. So join me and we'll discuss how do you get that peace. Woo! Yes. So have a great weekend and we made it to Friday. Bye.